we do a Q&A, a lightning round Q&A to start the show, not to end the show, because it's a way for our audience to get to know Sharon a little bit. So I would ask you first, what is your favorite song to sing?
To sing?
Yeah. Oh, wait, to sing?
Or
just song? You can do either.
I'd say anything from the musical Hamilton.
Oh, anything from Hamilton. We get a lot of Hamilton fans in the studio here. They're very excited about that. All right, so Hamilton, number 2, favorite core pursuit in the world. It's a hobby on steroids besides meditation.
Oh, besides meditation, reading.
Number of reading. Okay, then what's your favorite book?
Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind.
Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind.
Snuck a little meditation in there, yeah.
Okay, you did. Favorite instrument?
Viola.
Ooh, that's pretty. That is pretty. Favorite food?
Indian food of any kind.
Oh, I was thinking like one dish, but you can go with an entire
Okay,
cuisine.
sag paneer. Let's say sag paneer.
Okay.
Spinach and cheese.
What is that?
It's spinach and cheese with spices.
Okay. All right. Favorite place you've ever traveled in Michigan?
Ann Arbor.
Okay, that's good. That's nice. How about in the world?
India, say Bodh Gaya, the town of Bodh Gaya in India. It houses, so to speak, the descendant of the tree they say the Buddha was sitting under when he became enlightened.
Oh, Buddha became enlightened. So wait, there was a moment that he became enlightened?
There was a moment sitting under a tree.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, well then let's go into meditation. Let's talk about your passion. I was on I was at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport the other day. I was riding in the tram to go from one terminal to another, and I was listening to one of your meditations.
Mm-hmm.
That was very cool, and I was very relaxed on the tram. But I am. Meditation is one of these interesting things where I know it's great. I love the idea of it. I want to do it. I've tried it a little bit. But I don't, for some reason, I've never been able to dive into it. And I guess along with yoga is another thing that I want to do that I have never really done. So, and I know there's some relationship there, but if we were just to purely forget yoga and just say, I want to be able to meditate and I want to do it and I want it to help. One of my business partners swears by meditation. It's like changed his life in the last 5 years. How would you get started to do that if you're just the average guy like me or someone listening to this podcast? And why would I? And why? Why would I want to do it? Why do I want to do meditation?
I think you might want to do it as an experiment. You know, it doesn't really work if it feels coerced. You know, like I've got to do it. I have to improve myself. It's kind of nasty, but if it intrigues you in some way, you know, whether it's stress reduction or more clarity of mind or more perspective or more balance, and most people, you know, are brought to it because they're unhappy in some way. They're unhappy with how they're treating their kids or how badly they're sleeping or something, you know, but not always. Sometimes it's just this big curiosity about life. And I always say, just see what seems reasonable to you. Maybe that's 3 times a week for a month. You know, where do you want to set the terrain of the experiment? And each time you practice, let's say you're going to do sitting meditation, it could be 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be more than 12 minutes, which is what the neuroscientists are saying. 12 minutes
so 12
a day.
Is the diminishing marginal return point on meditation?
That's what the latest neuroscience that I've heard says. 12 minutes a day, 3 to 5 times a week will actually
That's
bring
not
results.
a big commitment. Okay.
No, it's definitely not a big commitment. I think a little self-knowledge is important here too. Like what I said to that neuroscientist, actually, who's a friend of mine, was for me, 3 to 5 times a week wouldn't work because it would be Monday and I think I'll start on Wednesday. Then it'd be Wednesday and I'll think I'll do it 3 times on Saturday, but every day is every day. So it's easier for me to say I'm going to do this every day for 5 minutes or 12 minutes for a month. And that's it. Then you make the experiment.
So if I were to do this, okay, how would I then start? Would I go to, and you're a world-renowned teacher and you've been, and you're a New York Times bestselling author. Can I just go to YouTube and find a video of you leading a meditation? But what is a good starting point for somebody?
I mean, you could, the book that you're referring to that was on the New York Times bestseller list that I wrote was called Real Happiness, and it's sort of a guide to how to meditate, how to begin or renew a practice. And basically, I think what's most important is that we understand what to expect, because people can be really merciless toward themselves. Like, I failed at this because I couldn't drive all thoughts out of my head, or I couldn't keep my mind totally blank, or I couldn't have only blissful feeling. And it's nothing like that. It's really not about annihilating part of our experience. Meditation is more about changing our relationship to everything that we experience. Like you might have a very difficult, painful feeling. You don't necessarily want to have that drive you into action or making a choice. You want to be able to deal with it differently, perhaps. Or you might see this beautiful, amazing, wonderful thing is happening, and you're really reluctant to go for it, to let yourself feel it. And you might notice that habit, and then you say, well, just relax, enjoy this, something like that. And so it's all about changing our relationship to what appears.
So when did you were doing this before meditation was cool.
So long before.
Before. When did what got you into doing this?
Well, like many people, I had a very traumatic, difficult childhood, and I went to college when I was 16. I'm a product of the New York City public school system, where people skipped grades often. And in my sophomore year, there was a philosophy requirement, and I just chose Asian philosophy, like worked out for my schedule or something like that. And and in
this
the
one's
context,
3 credits, but less amount of time. I'm taking it.
I'm taking that one, and it's exactly what it was like, and it totally changed my life. And in the context of that class, I heard that there were methods, there were techniques, they were very practical, that if you actually chose to do them, you could be a lot happier. And I think if I was going to describe myself in one word at the age of 18, it would be fragmented. I could sense I had no cohesiveness inside. And I was going to college in Buffalo, New York, so I looked around Buffalo. I did not see meditation instruction anywhere.
Right.
This is 1970. So I created an independent study project for the university. I said, I want to go to India and study meditation. And they said, okay. So off I went for my junior year.
Wow. So you had this thing that doesn't sound like a fragmented teenager. That sounds like a fairly teenager with some direction.
There was a flame within that.
Yeah.
I had a wild intuition, which was a correct intuition, and I followed it.
So so you told the university, you said, look, I want to go study this. I'm going to go to India for a whole year, or just a semester.
It was a year. Yeah.
And what did you find there? What an amazing story.
Well, I had a very certain kind of vision. I wasn't interested in the philosophy. I wasn't interested in religious affiliation or, becoming something or rejecting anything else. I really wanted to learn the how-to. And it happened that I found just that. It took a while, but I began meditating January 7th, 1971, in the context of an intensive 10-day retreat. And that was methods of concentration, getting more centered, methods of mindfulness, becoming more aware of my internal reality, everything I was feeling and thinking, methods of connection, caring and compassion for myself and for others. And I haven't looked back since, in a way.
I love the thought of mindfulness and connection, but tell me what mindfulness really means to you. What is mindfulness the product of successful meditation? But let's start with what exactly is mindfulness?
Well, I think of mindfulness as a certain skill of attention, and meditation is one of the ways of cultivating that skill. It's a pretty direct way. And it's the way I had, so I like it quite a lot, but certainly not the only way.
Mindfulness is a skill of attention.
Yeah, so basically it's a quality of attention where our perception of what's happening in the moment is not so distorted by old habit, by bias, by future projections. So, for example, if we feel physical discomfort, if we feel heartache, if we feel disappointment, most of us right away I'll start thinking, what's it going to feel like tonight? What's it going to feel like tomorrow? What's it going to feel like next week? What's it going to feel like next month? So not only do we have the actual experience of discomfort, we now have all that anticipation that we have added on top of it, and we're trying to bear it all at once. So we feel defeated and overcome. So what we want to do through mindfulness is you can't stop those thoughts from coming, but not get so invested in them. So the thought, what's it going to feel like? You see it, you let go of it, you come back to what's actually happening. That would be one example. Or maybe all the many kind of emotional states we've sort of been taught we shouldn't feel that, shouldn't feel that, shouldn't feel that. So as soon as they come, we sort of pushing them away a little bit.
Like what? Give me an example of that. I shouldn't feel this because
I shouldn't feel anger. I shouldn't feel sadness. I shouldn't feel...
Mm-hmm. Does meditation, what do you think, meditation versus physical exercise? I mean, it sounds like both would make for a healthy life. I'm pretty light on both of those right now. Probably 0 on meditation, light on exercise. But what about the relationship that if you had to choose one or the other, or are they both equally important?
I think they're probably, in terms of health, equally important, but one of the things I've always appreciated also about meditation is that it's very portable. Like let's say you do your 12 minutes a day, and that's a dedicated period where you're cultivating qualities like mindfulness. Then you're commuting and you're getting agitated. You don't have to shut your eyes, especially if you're driving. You don't have, or you're in your office. You don't have to close your eyes and look weird. You don't need equipment. You could breathe. And that will be a centering process. And when we return to ourselves in that way, we return to our values, remember our priorities, remember what we really want. So it's a very simple tool, but it's always with us.
So again, practically about meditation, I can meditate. So this is not in a quiet room with white noise on and very calming. This is anywhere?
Well, definitely anywhere, but you might want to do your 12 minutes in a quiet room if you can.
Okay.
If your apartment is in New York City, it's not going to work. But it's...
But you can't meditate while you're being active, though, can you? Or can
you can
you
sure.
drive? Can you meditate while you're driving?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go into a deep state of concentration, clearly, but I mean, those moments when you've driven a while and you realize I have not been here at all.
Yes,
like,
that's scary sometimes, by the way. Yeah.
So you don't need those, so much, but every now and then feeling your hands on the steering wheel or coming back to your body, it's just like grounding. Okay, here we are, would be the way you would do it. But if you're sitting in front of a computer, you can remember to breathe now and then. Or if you're on Zoom, there are active meditations as well where you're actually wishing people well, may you be happy, may you be peaceful. You're looking at all those little faces, doing that. Or there are walking meditations, there are moving meditations as you're walking from room to room.
What are some of the things that you like to repeat over and over again? May you be happy, maybe peaceful.
Yeah, may you be safe. I mean, this is kind of a classic one. May you be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease, which means in the things of day-to-day life like livelihood and family, may not be such a struggle. May you live with ease. And so it's like a blessing, instead of with yourself, instead of going through the list of your faults again, it's wishing yourself well. And with those people, one of my favorite things to do if I go into a company or an organization to teach is to ask how many other people need to be doing their job well for you to be able to do your job well. Because really, we live in interdependence. And, a physician who is the head of a large medical practice, like a year ago or something, in a hospital, said to me, who I have an increased appreciation for? It's the cleaning staff. And I thought, well, yeah,
Yeah.
And so sometimes those people we usually look right through. We ignore, we discount, we objectify. We take a moment and silently wish them well in the same way. All those people who are people, not objects, and things like that we can extend that sort of sense of blessing.
So I like the idea of meditation raising your happiness set points. And but again, consistent meditation, doing something 5 to 12 minutes, many days a week. And your point, Sharon, you like to do it at kind of every day, or else you're gonna put it off, like a lot of humans. It's a very human thing. So you just do it every day. And it's funny. My producer Mallory was just saying the Headspace app. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Headspace app. It connects with Waze for directions. And,
it does?
And offers, it offers meditation prompts like heavy traffic ahead. Try to refocus by feeling the seat beneath you. But that's a real thing.
That. That's great.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So you've written almost a dozen books. How are you doing so much of does it just come out? I've written 4, and it's been like they've been all pulling teeth.
I know. I'm turning one in 3 days, so I would never say it just happened, but
it's a big deal. But you've done so many of those, so you probably do enjoy writing. You probably like it.
Well, of course, it's a love-hate relationship, but
that's what it is. That's what it is. I have to stop saying I only like having written, because that's what it is. I'll admit that it's a love-hate. Sometimes I really do love it, and sometimes I get when it's frustrating. It's like I'm wasting. I feel like it's like wasted time doing nothing. Nothing good came of this time, and I'm more frustrated than when I started. So that's I don't know why I've never said it that way. It really is. It's love-hate. That's what it is.
Yeah. But I do enjoy it. I mean, it is my creative medium, and it so much of my early teaching, this is of course before Zoom, because I'm that old, but it was the people in the room, and that's who you were getting close to, and that's who you were sharing with. And the first time I read a book, my first book came out in 1995. And all of a sudden, people were writing me, and saying, "I read your book." Or one person. Is
this Real Happiness? The New York Times bestseller.
My first book was Loving Kindness, which is about that kind of meditation. And somebody wrote and said, "I found your book in the trash, and I was working on a ship." I was like, "Okay," and it was great for me, And you think, "Oh, look at that! The book travels, and people find it, and you never meet them. You're never in the same room, but you have a connection anyway."
I guess I would say, yeah, that is an interesting part about writing. And then what about Real Happiness then? Because that was then kind of that took off.
Yeah,
that went around the world.
Yeah, that was very exciting and very. Originally, that book was called "Why Meditate," because that's what it was about. And then I got an advance copy of a friend's forthcoming book, and his was called "Why Meditate." It was coming out before mine. So we quickly had to come up with a new title, and we came up with Real Happiness. And I knew it would be controversial because for a lot of people, happiness is sort of stupid. It's like superficial. It's being happy-go-lucky. It's being conflict avoidant and having no depth. And so I found myself kind of a defender of happiness, which was very funny.
Well, I'll join your happiness defense because I wrote a book. Well, maybe that's why none of my publishers would ever let my title, Happiest Retiree on the Block. It was the title for the first book, or the book I did almost 10 years ago, and they DK'd the title. And then it was the title of my second book, and they DK'd that title. So in both cases, neither did they let me do that. So, but I did. My latest book is What the Happiest Retirees Know.
Oh, that's great.
What the Happiest Retirees Know. 10 secrets for a healthy, secure, and joyful life. Where though, so you've done Real Happiness, Loving Kindness, and then your latest book. Just can you tell our audience just a little bit about your latest book?
Real Change. Well, I a sort of unfolding in my teaching life was that for many years I've worked a lot with people we call caregivers, who either in their personal lives were caring for a parent, caring for a child, caring for a spouse who was ill, or in their professional lives. You know, they were first responders or in the healthcare profession, or and internationally with, internationally humanitarian aid workers and people who are really on the front lines of suffering in a lot of ways. And we're doing amazing work and I think really upholding society, and often very unappreciated, and uncelebrated. And people with tremendous empathy and care who are burning out nonetheless, for other reasons, maybe more compassion for others than for themselves, or maybe unrealistic expectations, not being able to understand limits. I can't fix this. I can't fix everything for all people, whatever it was. And that those years sort of appreciation for that work kind of led me also to people who are activists, people who were in movements trying to make change for society of one kind or another. And so that book, Real Change, was really about people I'd met like that, who either were using meditation as a way of sustaining their work and their being, or were using those same values, even if they weren't using those methods. And it was in part to show people who were meditating, who wanted to make a difference in the world, that they could, that, and for the people who were working in those ways, that hopefully there were tools that could help sustain that effort.
So if I want to go out today and find a guided meditation, what's a practical step I can do? Literally, like as soon as I finish listening to this podcast, where am I going?
You could go to Real Happiness. You could buy the book, or there's so many, audios, and as you said, YouTube, and I've heard of young activists who talk about loving kindness meditation, for example, in interviews. And I asked my friend, where'd they learn that? And she said YouTube. They learn everything from YouTube, so.
How about your podcast? Give us a 2-second on that, on Metta Hour.
Right. Metta, Metta, means loving kindness. And I just talk to people, who are either prominent in the world of caregiving or activism or meditation or mindfulness. And it's really fun, I find.
Well, you've gotten 3 million downloads. So
yeah.
It's kind of that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you. Thank you for being here, Sharon.
Thank you so much.